If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know a lot of retention problems aren't really email problems or discount problems. They're product problems. I promise you, most businesses have never actually looked at their catalog through that lens. Hi, I'm Alex Orley, and this is Hard Margins, your weekly e-commerce brief brought to you by RetentionX. This week is a deep dive, longer than usual, more layered. We're going into product portfolio strategy as a retention system. Specifically, every SKU in your catalog has a job. Most brands don't know what those jobs are, and the gap is where a lot of LTV really quietly leaks out of your profit and your business. First, a word on RetentionX, because everything we're going to talk about today is actually what RetentionX was built to make operational. The core problem that RetentionX solves is one that I've talked a lot about on this show. Your customer data lives in 5 different places, and none of them agree with each other. Shopify sees orders, Klaviyo sees emails, Meta sees clicks, GA4 sees sessions. None of them are connected. You can't answer the questions that actually matter. Which cohorts are profitable? Which products are creating the best customers? Which channels are buying real margin versus just buying volume? RetentionX stitches all of that together in one place. It's an integrated growth platform built specifically for Shopify brands. And what makes it different from a regular analytics tool is that it doesn't just show you the data, it's built to help you act on it. RetentionX takes behavioral signals, what a specific customer is likely to buy next and when, and automates the second purchase engine across email, SMS, on-site, and paid retargeting. Not based on generic timers or whatever product has the best margin this month, but based on what customers like that person actually do. RetentionX runs server-side tracking and identity resolution, which means you're not flying blind on attribution. The brands running on fragmented point solutions are typically operating at less than 40% of their data's potential. RetentionX replaces that patchwork with one simple platform. Okay, let's get into it. You can build a great post-purchase flow, and you can nail your send timing. You can personalize every touch point in your business, but if you're recommending the wrong product, or if your catalog is structured in a way that attracts the wrong customers to begin with, none of it compounds. The lifecycle marketing sits on top of the product strategy, and if the foundation is off, the whole structure underperforms. The brands winning at retention aren't just better at email, they're better at understanding what each SKU's job actually is, and it turns out every product has 2 jobs, not 1. Every product in your catalog has an economic role and a behavioral role. The economic role is the one most teams think about. It's kind of the obvious one. Does this product bring customers in, drive a second purchase, protect margin, or erode it? The behavioral role is less obvious, but equally important. Does this product create loyalty to itself or loyalty to the brand? When you map those 2 dimensions, product stickiness versus brand stickiness, 4 categories emerge, and they tell you exactly how to treat each part of your catalog. The first, what I like to call ritual heroes, are high on both product stickiness and brand stickiness. These are your compounding LTV engines. Don't discount them into commodities. The next one I want to tell you about is called a brand anchor. These are high on brand stickiness, but much lower on product stickiness. Customers who enter through these products stay in the store. They just don't necessarily repurchase that same item. They explore, they move on to other categories. So the job here is to design intentional cross-sell paths out of these SKUs, but recognize what they are, generally really strong acquisition products. Solo items are the inverse: high product stickiness, low brand affinity. Customers are loyal to the product, but not to you as a brand. The risk is that they reorder the same item and never go deeper into your catalog. The opportunity is to build bridges into other categories before you lose the customer who comes in via a solo item. And lastly, the long tail. This is low on product stickiness, low on brand stickiness. These are products you need to take a hard look at in your catalog. Ask yourself if they are serving a specific strategic purpose you can articulate, or if they're just diluting your catalog and probably should be tossed entirely. So knowing which quadrant each SKU occupies doesn't change your email flows. It should shape how you allocate paid media, how you sort your collections, and how you build bundles, and really how you structure your entire merchandising hierarchy. So think about this through the lens of a brand doing 100 million. One SKU is carrying most of the revenue. The team calls it the hero SKU. And over the course of 12 to 18 months, this business has probably launched 6 new products that were supposed to become the next hero. None of them necessarily broke through. And what we see is that CAC starts to creep up, the growth is slowing, and you probably have leadership asking why. The honest answer here is that it's probably not a fair test. The existing hero gets the best placement, the most ad spend, the most social proof, and the most historical conversion data. Every new product experiment is rigged against it from the start. That looks like an initial email call out, a few scattered ads, short shelf life, with the conclusion that it's not a winner. But that's not necessarily a product problem. It sounds more like a distribution problem being mistaken for product market feedback. A true ritual hero earns its position through cohort behavior, not just strong contribution margin, but low returns, fast payback, high repeat rate. A false hero is just the most visible product in the catalog. In a revenue dashboard, these two things can look identical. In a cohort view, they won't look anything alike. And the gap between what the dashboard shows and what the cohorts show is where portfolio misalignment hides. The earliest sign that your portfolio is misaligned tends to show up in a specific sequence. Likely what this looks like is return rates creeping up on entry SKUs, while full price conversion weakens without an obvious cause. Discount dependency also likely increasing just to hit monthly revenue targets, and repeat rates stagnate while the customer file grows. None of these look like a portfolio problem on their own. It might look like margin compression or a CAC problem, but when you actually look at cohort behavior by acquisition product, which SKU a customer buys first, and then how they subsequently behave over the next 12 months, you'll see the truth. And that truth is your entry product is not just a revenue line, it's a customer quality filter. If it's over-indexing on discounted or low perceived value, you're not just making a merchandising mistake, you're actually manufacturing a future retention problem. So here's how to audit your own portfolio. You don't need to rebuild everything at once. First, map your SKUs to the 4-rule framework. Pull in repeat lift, meaning the delta in second order rate, and net contribution margin percentage for each product over the last 30 to 90 days. Plot them. Most brands are surprised by what's actually a profit trap when they look at it this way. Then layer in stickiness. Using brand and product stickiness, identify which SKUs are true ritual heroes versus solo items or brand anchors. The cross-sell strategy for each is completely different, and you can't build the right one until you know which category you're dealing with. Next, segment by acquisition product. Which first purchase SKUs create high LTV customers who expand into the broader assortment? Which ones attract people who buy once and churn? That answer should directly dictate where you allocate paid media. From there, build intentional upgrade paths. Entry product to retention driver to margin protector. Most brands have products, very few have a true progression. The post-purchase flow should educate and elevate, not just fire off a 10% discount on the next order. And lastly, set some portfolio guardrails. Which customers are eligible for promos and which ones shouldn't be trained to wait for a sale. Ritual heroes should not be discounted into commodities. That type of decision needs to be explicit. The hardest part of a portfolio strategy isn't necessarily the analysis, it's keeping it operational across every channel. Email, SMS, paid, on-site, without manually updating logic every week. When the classification layer, knowing what each SKU's job is, connects to behavioral prediction, knowing what a specific customer is likely to buy next and when, the second purchase engine essentially runs itself. Your repeat rates are going to climb, the discount reliance is going to fall off a cliff, CAC pressure is going to ease because older cohorts start funding newer ones, and you can stop guessing what to offer next and actually start building customers who come back at full price. So to sum it all up, your catalog is already telling you it's working, And most brands, in my experience, are just not listening. The brands compounding growth have done three things. They've mapped what every SKU's job actually is. They've built their lifecycle and merchandising strategy around that structure, and they've made the whole thing measurable enough to act on it from week to week. That's what separates a product list from a growth system. Once again, thank you for listening. I am Alex Orley. This has been Hard Margins, your weekly e-commerce brief, brought to you by RetentionX. I'll see you next week.